Dust off those old long boxes and adjust your pouches. We're going back to the 90s with a retro review of Spawn. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Nerd Cave. This is Ashton. As always, I am joined by my good friend Casey. Say hello.
How y'all doing again?
We are here for episode 2 of a retro review of Spawn. This one we will be covering the rest of the first arc, which is called Questions. So I guess that's the name of this episode, is Questions. I hope you enjoyed the first episode, and we are glad that you're back for this one. And if you missed the first episode, now's a good chance for me to remind you that you can find Ashton's Nerd Cave on YouTube, on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, or whatever it's called now, and wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, wherever. We're there. So take the time to follow us on the socials and keep up with what we're doing here. I also wanted to remind you that I do have a merch store on TeePublic. There's a link on all of the socials for that. So if you want some swag, that's the place to get it. And also, I wanted to take a minute on this one to thank my good friend J. David Weeder for answering so many questions I had about getting the podcast set up. Dave, I greatly appreciate it. And I hope that everyone listening or watching will go check out his podcast that he has with Bill Beer called The Bat Pod. It is an excellent Batman podcast, and y'all go check it out. So anyway, now that all of that stuff's out of the way, Casey, how's it going?
Good, man. Just glad to finally put this episode back together. We've been having some life happen and skipped a couple weeks here, so it was good to be back on. Talking about some good 90s comics and Spawn.
Yep, it's tough being an adult sometimes with jobs and gigs and all of that. It really gets cuts into your time of trying to do what you want to do.
Yep. So here we are, though.
But I guess that's what being an adult is. So anyway, we're here for episode 2 of our retro review of Spawn. We're going to give a little recap of what you may have missed last week. We dug into issue 1. Which is where we were introduced to Spawn, and the mystery was set up. He had no idea who he is. We got some clues from the newscasters. There was a guy named Simmons. He was a war hero, and he was killed. We know that there is a woman that he has memories of, and that there is some mystery bad guy who may be behind it all. We were also introduced to Sam and Twitch. There are these 2 detectives working on a case, trying to figure out who's killing all these mobsters. Anything to add to that maybe we need to point out from issue 1?
No, I just to piggyback what you were talking about, we're still as clueless as Spawn himself is in this comic, is what I kind of probably touched on in the first one, but I really enjoyed. As you go through this comic, you kind of discover at the same time he's discovering everything. It's not like you have a background of this hero that you know of, and you already know his backstory, and you're just reading it to see what he's getting into.
Yeah, that's one aspect that I really liked about the first one, is that we were discovering things as he was. Now, we did get a little clue with the news, those news segments, but not enough to really, we're still almost as clueless as he is, and it continues that way through issues 2, 3, and 4, which we're about to talk about. So let's move on to that, if that's okay.
Yep.
So issue 2, let's talk about the cover. We didn't talk about the cover of the first issue, which we should have, seeing as how, like,
the very first one.
It's the very first one, and also Spawn is kind of known, I think, for its cover. So it's always really cool cover.
I mean, we can touch back on one real quick while we got a moment while it's here. And kind of think a lot of his covers they weren't very busy. It was focused on usually one character, had the cover, not a whole lot of background on a lot of them, but on number 1, it gives you a perfect intro. I mean, it's Spawn. He's striking a little pose as his little hand pose that you see a lot as your comics go on. And you just get a glimpse of his uniform, and he's surrounded by cape and some green some green power mojo going on.
And that's one thing that Todd is known for with his work on Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was
the poses for sure, and Spidey's hands doing, Spider-Man things.
Yeah, he kind of brought in the fame of the super articulation of Spider-Man.
Yeah, made him all and stretchy and probably not very realistic in a lot of cases. But who cares? It's dynamic and it looks good. We don't read comics for reality. I don't read comics for reality. So
no.
But moving on to issue 2, if you want to, do you have anything else to say about the cover to issue 1?
No, I'm good on 1. 2 is
the first cover was painted over Todd's pencils. It wasn't traditional comic book coloring, which I thought was cool, and they carried that on for number 2 as well. Number 2 is not as iconic of a cover as the first one, I don't think, but I think I like it better. It's Spawn in a cemetery. It's a profile view of him, and he's just crouched on a tombstone in a graveyard, and it's really cool. The coloring is great. There's a sunset going on behind him, and the sky is all purple, and I really like this cover a lot. And again, this one's painted as well.
Yeah, it was a fantastic job, and he's still got his bats around him. That was a theme for both covers. There's a bat on 1 and a couple of them on 2. And you do see a name on the gravestone on issue 2.
Yep. It says Simmons, and, well, maybe he visited his own grave. That'd be weird, man. That'd be weird.
Yeah.
Go visit your own grave. But yeah, this one is painted. Ken Stacey is the painter who paints over Todd's pencils on these 2 covers, and I like it.
I like them a lot.
Anything else to say about the cover?
Nope.
The Spawn logo is a different color on this one. It's orange. So that's cool. We're getting different colors through for each issue, I guess. But anyway, so Questions Part 2 is what this is titled. And we didn't go through the credits on the first one, but we should have. Story, Pencils and Inks by Todd McFarlane. Letters by Tom Orzechowski. The editor is Wanda, I'm going to butcher this name, Magic, I don't know. Color by Steve Olaf, Ruben Rude, and Ollie Optics. And this one is dedicated to Steve Ditko, who is known for Spider-Man. The first issue, by the way, was dedicated to Jack Kirby. So it looks like he's, dedicating to classic creators as we go throughout. So that's really cool. So we move on in issue 2. On the very first page, we get this clown looking dude, and big letter says, "I'm the Violator." So we're introduced to the Violator, and he's just a skeevy looking clown guy who looks really, really gross. And I would not
unnatural.
He's got 4 fingers on his hands, which I never noticed that originally back in the day.
I don't even think I noticed that this time around.
Yeah, pull it up if you've got it. It's weird.
Yeah, I got it right here. I was just scrolling through in case we don't want to touch on something. Yeah. I'll have it by me, but yeah, for sure.
He's got 4 fingers, and he's just talking about what he's going to do. We find out that he's a few pages later that he's talking about Spawn, but he's talking about amputating a leg, ripping out his innards, make fillets out of his lungs, just all this really gross, violent, graphic stuff. And he's talking to a cat. That's the best part. So,
and he is definitely not a fan of the Spawn for some reason.
No, definitely
doesn't seem like.
Also, let's see. After that, we're introduced to the Violator. He says that Spawn's going to have a very bad night. So we pick up a Spawn, and he is still trying to figure out what's going on with his wife. When we meet him in this issue, he remembered that he had a wife, and he's still trying to figure out where she is, what she's up to, how he's going to get to her. Then we move on, and we've got a scene where there are mobsters, and you can tell that there's some violence about to happen. There's a dude running, and then we see this really scary, weird gray arm just punch through the wall and grab the dude by his face. And it's this monster with a huge mouth, tons of teeth, and blood everywhere. And so I guess we see who's been killing the mobsters, huh?
Yeah, it is definitely revealed. It was definitely not Spawn, but he's been having too much time trying to figure things out to be worried about attacking a certain group of people. So, but it's all revealed that that's who's taking these people out.
Yeah, and he rips out his heart.
Has Sam and Twitch busy.
Yeah, Sam and Twitch has been what? I mean, I don't know if we're going to get to it or not because I haven't read this in 30 something years. But are Sam and Twitch prepared to see this creature that is ripping out these hearts?
I don't think they are, because I don't think they are expecting anything of the sort. I think there is in this plane of existence where Spawn's at, I'm pretty sure that they have a couple hero teams that are not human. That's mentioned by the news, and I'm sure they expect, it's not going to be a total shock that it's not a human doing it, but I don't think they're ready for what it is. So I think the news touched bases a couple of times on the Team Wildcats, I think.
And the Youngbloods.
Yeah, Youngbloods.
Which is one thing
Maybe it's just the Youngbloods.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is just Youngbloods, I think.
Which I wanted to mention because I thought that was cool. And they mention them in issue 1 as well. And it's already, doing some world building throughout their universe with the different heroes, starting early on. So that's pretty cool to see. I like to see a shared universe like that. But I'm a comic book fan, so what can I say?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So after that, Sam, let's see. Hold on, I'm sorry. Spawn realizes that he has these powers, right? And that he's trying to see his wife. So he decides that he's going to use his powers to make himself look like he used to look. Cause he's all scarred up and he's like an uglier version of Deadpool, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
Is what Spawn looks like. So he uses his powers to make himself whole again, is what he says. And he does, and he turns into this handsome looking guy with blonde hair. And we're like, oh, cool. He's who he is. That's awesome. But then he freaks out because he's a white guy.
Yeah.
And Al Simmons is not a white guy. So he's mad about that.
Yeah. He wasted all this energy to try to form yourself back to what you were, and you so desperately want to get back to your wife. That was your main purpose of this deal that you can't remember that you made or all of the details, but also all he remembers is he had to get back to see his wife. And being so close to having that chance, and all of a sudden it's not you, even though you are more human, you're the wrong human.
You're still not.
So you're still not Al Simmons. So it's still not going to do you any good. So I can feel his frustration on that one.
And I guess he kind of is figuring out that though he has this power, he's not in control, which is also probably a shock to the system for him. Because he does have all this power, but if he can't really use it like he wants to, what's the point? That's something else to consider, something else for him to worry about and be confused about, and just know that something's not right. So we go on, and he begins to, he changes back to his Spawn form and has another flashback of when he was betrayed. And we have a name now. It's Jason Wynn. And we know that they were friends. He was like a mentor to him. He taught him all sorts of things, and he had him killed. So another piece of the mystery is peeled back for us. So after that shocking revelation, did you have something to say about that? Didn't you mention that?
I was just going to touch on the couple frames of the art.
Okay.
Once we start reviewing that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about the art separately here in a second. Panels and stuff that stuck out to us. So Spawn's freaking out, falls off a building. He's laid out, and then this clown guy walks up. So the Violator comes, and he's talking like he knows him, and Spawn can't figure it out. And I really like the one page. It's a full page spread where they're standing next to each other, and Violator barely comes up to Spawn's knees.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking, man, if these two cats fight, this isn't going to be much of a fight, is it?
No. And I think previously he's seen him waving to him like a crazy person on a building, and it was just like a little side note when Spawn was contemplating trying to remember. He there's a small picture of the clown on top of a building randomly trying to get his attention. And now I think this is the first time they meet face to face and actually have some dialogue together.
Yeah, and Spawn mentions that I've seen you before. And this whole film,
this is kind of he just thought it was kind of odd that he's seen him on top of the building and had no clue what was going on, and then here he is again.
The whole time, Violator's just talking smack too. Like this little really annoying dude just talking smack. And I thought this was funny. He's going on and on about all the stuff he's going to do, and then he looks down and says, "Excuse me a moment," and he zips his pants. His pants have been unzipped.
Just out of the blue.
I just thought that was funny. That was a nice little moment that
little cut from the tension between them.
Yeah, gave a moment of levity to the tenseness, the tension. And so Spawn's like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. I've had enough of you," and he walks away. And then on the last page, we discover that the clown is in fact Violator. We see his creepy demon form appear there. So that what'd you think about that issue?
I liked it. There was two big reveals. I say big, but one more than the other. But he at least gets an enemy that he can blame now in the form of Jason Wynn that is responsible for all of this happening when he was human, and then when he came back, now he sees another little annoying gnat in the form of the Violator clown, and he doesn't realize it's an enemy yet, but we do at the last page. So I think there's two protagonists in this issue.
Yep. Just quick general thoughts, because we'll give a more. There's a dog yelping in the background. We have a puppy, and she doesn't like being shut up, and so she's in her playpen right now and is not happy. So if y'all hear that, just know that it's not cruelty to animals. It's just a very dramatic puppy. And y'all probably hear this walking in. If you have been on my channel for a while, you know that our other dog Piper likes to come join me in my videos sometimes. She just walked in. But so just a quick thought. I thought it was a pretty good issue. It, like I said, peeled back a couple layers of mystery and still has me hooked to see what happens next. So speaking of which, let's move on to issue 3. Tell me about the cover of issue 3.
Issue 3, they change colors again on your logo. I think it's, I don't know how ongoing it is, but I guess we'll see as we go through, because in the same boat as you, I haven't touched base on these comics in a very long time. But you'll probably know if it doesn't appear to be painted as the other ones were.
Nope, doesn't look like it. It's more traditional.
It just seems like it's another full view of Spawn, but you get more cape this time than you do anything else. And I don't know if he's in thought on this issue or not, but
he does look pensive. He's on a roof. It looks like maybe a church roof.
Yeah.
Looks like
you see a little stained glass in the bottom corner. Bats again. So obviously it's somewhere that you've got a belfry and bats, and it seems like he's staying a loner, and he's just probably up there just trying to figure things out as we are, is what I get from this.
I didn't like this cover as much as the first two. It's not the coloring either, because the first two were painted, but it's not that. It's just, it's okay. I don't hate it. I mean, if I was in a store, I'd be like, oh, that looks neat. But when you're comparing it to the first two, it just doesn't really compare.
Yeah, they jump out with the coloring for sure.
Yeah,
on the first two.
We are starting to see his cape be a little more dramatic, and that becomes a huge thing later on. As Todd, expands the story and expands his style, which Todd drew. I can't remember the issue. I'd have to look it up. But a very iconic Batman cover in the 80s with his cape just everywhere, and that kind of
lots of folds.
Became Todd's thing. So not as good as the first two, the cover, but not terrible. So this one, questions part 3. Story pencils and inks by Todd McFarlane. Letters by Tom Warzakowski. Editor is Terry Fitzgerald. Color is Steve Olaf, Ruben Rude, and Ollie Optics. And this one is dedicated to Jerry the Joker Robinson, Batman creator from back in the day. He created the Joker. I'm all 99% sure. Definitely, he was a penciler on Batman.
It seems like he's probably giving some props to guys that inspired him to
get
into the comic game.
Yep. So, do you want to give a rundown of this issue, or do you want me to do it?
We can just go through it like we've been going through it. Yeah, I do see, as I'm going back through, the very first thing that pops out on his page is he remembers his wife's name.
That's actually the very first note that I have on
very. So he's going through some more questioning, even though that's a critical part. That'll add to his quest of info trying to put together to find her.
I'm going to edit all this quiet out. Sorry.
Already find it. And he's, and it looks like he's revisiting the deal. He's starting to remember more of the deal he made in this one. That it was an easy deal. Let me see my wife and you can have my soul.
It seems easy always, doesn't it?
That was, and that was the simplification of in his mind. That was what I'll give you my soul. Just let me see my wife. And he's like, okay, sure. You can go back. And, they touch base on Mobosha again, and he goes through and kind of gives you more of the history of Al Simmons and why he was picked, a little more details of the deal. And obviously he says you forgot to read the small print, which is, they always do.
Yep. That's, in any form of media where they're making a deal with the devil, there's always the fine print that they skip over, forget about, don't even look at.
They're focused on the big picture.
The big picture, but there's always something. So yeah, we get some insight into him. So after that, we got taken back to Sam and Twitch. They're still trying to figure out who's killing these mobsters, and I don't know, which I'll touch on this a little bit later, but I'll just save it for later. Let's move on with the synopsis of the issue. We also, right after we catch up with Sam and Twitch, we've got Violator in the bottom just being goofy, talking about being a poet and doesn't even know it. How do you feel about Violator so far? Is he gets on my nerves, which I think is the point.
Yeah, he is bothersome. Yeah, he's bothersome. We really don't see why he's needed besides of an enemy for Spawn, but why you're kind of curious of why he has to go back to this clown form and why he just doesn't stay as the Violator.
Yeah. Unless he's just trying to blend in, which he's doing a terrible job at that.
But he still doesn't blend in very well. But every interaction you see him with, it's not with people, he's just in the alley just hanging out. But I guess a giant demon would stand out a little more.
I wonder if this scene was a callback to like maybe Etrigan from DC, the demon. Because, he's a rhyming demon and everything he says is in rhyme, and we got Violator coming up with these stupid rhymes. I don't know if maybe that was Todd just doing a little homage there to Etrigan. I don't know. But like I said, Violator gets on my nerves and I like it. Like that's the whole point. He is supposed to be a guy, and he is very much that guy.
For sure.
So after that, we've got Spawn breaking into a CIA building to find some files so he can hopefully, figure out what's going on with his life.
Yeah. He would have assumed they would have files on him. That's who he worked for. So.
Yep. And then we've got him holding up the guy from the office, and he's threatening. Wow. Why can't I say that? Yes. He's throwing threats at the guy. And
apparently he's a scumbag.
Yeah. But we've got Mobosha after that kind of excited that Spawn's becoming violent. He's wanting him to, give in to what he's got going on and become more violent. So he finds out he gets the files, finds out where Wanda lives, and returns to his human form, which again is not him. He's a blonde white guy. And he goes to the address that he finds in the files, and meets up with Wanda, and you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, he takes the chance to go, and he does find her, and obviously he gets to see her, which is fulfilled his Melbosh's part of the deal, just not in the way that Al Simmons obviously wanted. And finds out ultimately she all of a sudden a little kid comes running up, so ultimately she has a kid. And this sets off another torment and flashback to Al Simmons that it was his fault that they couldn't have children because obviously she's got a kid now.
Yeah.
And that was another memory that he had. He meets a big critical part is who she's married to now, which is Terry. And I assume they knew each other.
I think it was his best friend, right?
They had a history together, and I assume it just kind of happened from Wanda needing somebody to turn to emotionally, and he was there, I guess, and like it does in a lot of movies and TV shows.
Yep.
And he passes out again because every time he has a flashback, that's what happens. So he ends up in their house on their couch. They're just having some conversations, and he leaves it at that. And then it shows a really cool view of a city skyline with giant words of no and exclamation point. And he is just distraught from happy. that visit, not happy at all. That seeing his wife did not go the way he planned.
And
found out, for one, she's got a kid. 2, it's with his best friend. And 3, they're married.
And 4, that had wanted a kid with him and they couldn't. And he finds out he was the problem. So he wasn't able to give her what she wanted.
Yep. While he was here. So that's got to be another severe blow.
Yep. And then add on top of that, that guy shows up while Spawn's all reeling from that. Violator shows up and starts to fight him, tries to rip his heart out, does rip his heart out. Spawn pops up and says, yeah, I don't think I need that heart. So he's powering up to fight Violator, and issue 3 ends with that.
Yep. Spawn's face down in the alley and pops right back up.
Yep. Anything else to add to issue 3 before we move on to issue 4?
Nope. We can go to 4, and like I say, we'll touch some base on a few things once we get to the little story arc that they got going on.
Yeah. So issue 4, the cover is the Violator, his ugly mug, not in the clown form, in his demon form. All teeth and slobber right in your face, black background,
super extended jaw.
Yep. What do you think about this cover?
It got to the point. It's sometimes less is more. It's not very busy.
Yeah.
But still not one of my favorite Spawn covers.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, it's a good illustration. I mean,
yeah,
just issue 3 was fine, a fine drawing. It's just seriously, man.
Yeah.
Issues 1 and 2, those covers they catch you, or they not me.
I'm not taking anything away from artwork because it is fantastic. Because it's Todd McFarlane, and he doesn't do too many pieces I don't enjoy. But as far as covers go, and as we see through the Spawn series, they do have some fantastic covers. 1 and 2 stood out. 3 and 4, not so much, not taken away from skill level or artwork.
He's better than all of them.
Just didn't catch it. Yeah, for sure. Myself included, but it just didn't. It's definitely subpar compared to 1 and 2.
All right. So moving on into issue 4, we've got Questions Part 4, Story, Pencils, and Inks by Todd McFarlane. Letters by Tom Warzakowski. Editor is Terry Fitzgerald. Color by Steve Olaf, Ruben Rude, and Ollie Optics. And this one is dedicated to Joe Shuster, one of the creators of Superman. So he's covering all the bases, it seems like. And we get the very first panel of this comic is Spawn's heart in Violator's hand. And this leads to this huge fight between the two of them that goes on for several pages. And it's really cool. I think it's a fantastic fight scene.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that some?
Yeah, sure. Obviously Violator, his fighting is just pretty much a melee situation. He's just pulling people's hearts out. But all of a sudden Spawn charges up, and I guess it shows his hourglass and his power level, and a really cool up close of his hand charging. and he shoots an energy beam, which is a new discovered power, and shoots it directly through the Violator. So now the Violator's standing there with a gaping hole in his skinny chest as well. So they're going tit for tat. Really good artwork.
It's
back and forth. A lot of action scenes, a lot of action spells going on.
Like. It's kind of like, we're both wrestling fans. It's just two big horses going at each other. And I like that.
Yeah. Paying some homage to Hulk and the Giant or the Ultimate Warrior Hulk. There's just back and forth.
To run the risk of sounding kind of risque, one of the descriptions I like of that is two meaty men slapping meat. And that's what it is. It's just two powerful dudes just waylaying each other. And that's, I like it. I like destruction. I like full force fighting like that. I like dudes with huge holes in their chests fighting another dude with a huge hole in his chest.
And a couple cells later, there's two dismembered arms in the same frame. And they are going an eye for an eye, it looks like.
Yeah, Spawn uses that zapping power that he's got to take off one of Violator's arms. Violator bites off one of Spawn's arms. It's pretty fantastic. There's a whole page of just arms flying through the air. It's great. And it's got the sound effects in the background and just arms flying through the air. This is peak 90s. The only thing missing, there's not a pouch anywhere to be seen on Spawn's arm, but that's probably because Rob Liefeld wasn't involved with this. But this is about as 90s as it gets, and I love it.
Yep.
It is great. So then Malbolgia shows up. Has it even said his name yet in any of these issues? I don't think it has. Yeah.
No, we might have just been jumping the gun with the name. Yeah, I'll go back and see later on. I don't think it put his name. Do a little research, but maybe you just edit his name out every time we say it. Just beep.
No, I think a 36-year-old comic or 34-year-old comic. I think the statute of limitations is up for spoilers. But anyway, he shows up. He's the big bad because he's in control of both Spawn and Violator. And he gives his plan, which he wants to destroy God. And he's using Spawn as his way to make that happen. And this is a case where no matter what Spawn does, he loses. He's got all these powers, and this is, I guess, where he finds out that once he uses the powers, he's gone. He's done. He's dead. So he can either use his power to fight against Malbolgia and everything that he's got going on, which is going to end up in people dying and Malbolgia having more souls to use for his army. And eventually Al's going to die because he uses his powers. Or he can stand by and do nothing and just let all the bad stuff happen, which is also going to build Malbolgia's army. So either way, we learned that Al Simmons is doomed.
He unwillingly became possible anti-hero.
Yep.
As comics go.
So one thing I wanted to point out in this is Malbolgia. He's obviously, it hasn't been said that he is the devil, Satan, but I think he is. Do we know later on if there's somebody above him than him? And you don't know.
Honestly, I am not for sure how the power arc ends up playing out.
Yeah, for all we know right now,
on his side,
this guy is Satan. He is the top dog, I guess. But he says something here, and I just wanted to touch on this just because this is something that I do. He says, I don't have the power to turn people away from God. They have to do that willingly. But once they do, I need to seize that moment and make them mine. Once I have them, my powers can and will control them forever. As a Christian, I'd like to try to find some biblical truth in, everything that I read or watch. And I think I'm going to get the opportunity to do that a lot reading Spawn, just because there's this heaven versus hell aspect. They're dealing with, they're dealing with souls, eternal, where souls are going to rest eternally. And like I said, I am a Christian, and those of y'all watching and listening, I am about to do a new show on the Nerd Cave channel that I'm going to call Devotions from the Nerd Cave, where we just look at some Bible verses and talk about it and just talk about life. But I thought this was just a good thing to point out, that Satan does not have the power to turn us from God. He can't make our choices for us. Every choice we make, we have that power to make our choice. We have God gave us free will, and and when people say the devil made me do it, that's not true. The devil doesn't make you do anything. He just presents you with choices. And so
it's all about choices from the very beginning. It's about choices and free will. We're
going to see that a lot in this book, I think. So I think this is going to be something good that we'll come back to frequently, probably. But I just wanted to point that out, that I think Todd might be accidentally, doing some good biblical lessons here, whether he knows it or not. But I just thought that was a pretty good thing to pause and take a look at, that life is choices and how we react to what happens to us. That's really all our life is us reacting to things. And we, the devil can't make us do anything. We choose for ourselves what we do. And Al Simmons chose to make a deal he didn't fully understand. And I feel like for the rest of the series, we're up to issue 300 and something now, right? Do you know what issue we're up to? 50 something, 340 something? I don't know.
No,
One's still going on.
It's been ongoing.
And Al is still dealing with those choices. So yeah, there's a little thing y'all probably weren't expecting to hear and reviewing a Spawn comic, but there it is, and do with that what you will. For sure.
When it presents itself.
So back to the story. Now, Malebolgia, like you mentioned earlier, he didn't want Spawn to use up all of his power, so he gave his arm back, and he gave Violator's arm back. But what happened with Violator?
Yep. He apparently got solded because he was sent there, as you learn through this longer dialogue that they have, the three of them in the alley. He is supposed to be guiding Spawn. He's supposed to be a guide for Spawn, instead of fighting him. So he got scolded and reprimanded, and I think his powers got taken away to transform into his true form. And now he's stuck as this little bothersome fat clown who has an image shirt on, by the way, in most of these frames.
That was pretty great. A little meta there for you, breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, so he is stuck like this now, and he's stuck having to help Spawn, which is a double whammy for him.
Yep. So we get Spawn incognito, kind of taking the old Ninja Turtles tactic of going in disguise and throwing on a trench coat and a hat, because a trench coat and a hat will cover up anything. It's like Superman's glass. Put on glasses.
Yep. Yep. You never know. It's a guy.
Man, could you imagine
where does Kate go?
If you put on a trench coat, a hat, and glasses? Wow. You could hide from the IRS like that. So we got Spawn walking the streets, and these kids are running to him. They're like, "Hey, it's that new superhero." And Spawn's like, "Really? How did you know?" And then they run to the TV, and we get a cameo by Savage Dragon, which again, more world building. I love it.
Yep.
Really cool.
Yep. Another character in the Image universe that's thrown into the mix with Spawn. So you see them tying all of it in together slowly.
And I do think there's a line of dialogue down here that one of the kids says that, I don't know if Al heard it. I'm sure he did. And I don't know if he's going to take it to heart, but the kid says, heroes ain't supposed to be normal. They're supposed to be better. And I think that's really cool. And I'm interested to see if Al heard that, and if that, he comes back to that at any point.
Yeah, because you got to think that the choice that he was given and just discovered by Malebolgia, either you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, either way. But if he does pick either way, maybe he will come back to that little kid saying they're supposed to be better. Maybe that'll guide him. Maybe that might nudge him a little bit one way or another.
If he's doomed anyway, he might as well go down swinging and make a positive difference. But remains to be seen. So this issue ends with Wanda, we see the word no. It's screamed, and Wanda wakes up, and she has had a dream about Al. And Terry, being, I guess, the good husband that he is very understanding. Says he doesn't expect her just to forget him. So that's cool. But the dream, it says, it was Al. I saw him alive, but he was different somehow, changed. He was calling to me, asking for help, begging for it. Which is kind of what happened. I mean, she saw Al and he was changed, but it says it was almost as if he knew I was there, but I couldn't do anything. And then he started to cry, hurt that I didn't want to come to his side. I don't know. It's kind of, it kind of summarizes what has happened. I mean, he knows where she is and can't do anything about it. And she probably wouldn't want to anyway. She's married, has a kid. He's all scarred, us looking.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, how would he be able to prove it was he's Al anyway? Even if because she buried him. He had a whole funeral. Yep. He was dead.
So that is the end of issue 4 and the end of the first story arc titled Questions. So since, the name of the comic company is Image. So obviously the art, the image, is a huge deal. What did you think about the art in these first 4 issues?
It stood out. It was, I want to say, I'm gonna have to look back and compare it to some of its counterparts, is it Marvel and some DC around the same time. But I keep going back to I like the shapes they use. A lot of different frame shapes. They do full pages. They'll do a long rectangle on one side with a little story going on in it. Then they'll come off to this side with almost a half page of art, and then 2 small ones down at the bottom. I like the way they use their
very dynamic
on their pages.
Very interesting to the eye.
Yeah. It gets difficult to kind of keep up with where you're supposed to go reading though.
Yeah, for sure.
On some of them. Like I say, and I really do dig the color schemes they have going on. It's always dark. It's not that it hasn't been done before, because you got Batman. There's not a lot of sunshine in Batman comics either. But the darkness of the city is just feels grimy. Because he hasn't ventured out of anywhere except this alley and a couple buildings. Most pleasant would have been the neighborhood where Wanda lived at, but they keep it dark. So the colors do stand out when they use them. A lot of clean lines. It all seems kind of new. It's McFarlane's bringing, even for McFarlane, I think it kind of, you start seeing a gradual change in his style from his Spider-Man. And
I had a note that the panel layout is very, like you said, not traditional. It's very dynamic, which I think did help with the flow. Like that during the fight scene in issue, what issue is that now? The one we just did, issue 4. It flowed very well, I think. But like you said, that's kind of the word bubbles, the reading, the order reading. That can always be a problem, because you won't, I guess, as a comic, which is a very visual medium, you want, the pictures to tell the story. So you kind of have to place the word bubbles, wherever they can go. So yeah, I can see that. It's kind of hard. There were a couple times I was like, okay, which one do I read first? But I thought the panel layout was great. It's very not traditional and very eye catching. Were there any specific panels that caught your eye in these issues?
I'm gonna go through real quick. I'm looking at in issue 1. I'm not for sure what page it is. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not for sure what page it is because I'm looking at it digitally. But there is another action pose of Spawn holding his cape with one hand. Says, I'm going to find her. All right. So he's come to a resolution that he's going to find his wife, because he's been questioning, and you do see some pockets on his leg, a whole loop of pockets. You see some, yep. He's got a whole bunch of pouches on one leg, and you do see his full uniform kind of color schemed, chains. Not a lot of chains in this one yet. Spikes on his arms. He's long. And obviously he's got the dynamic cape going on. It's folds everywhere. It's spread out. Lots of creases. Yeah. That's the one I like.
I just went back and looked, and that is the first full reveal of him. That's his first full reveal of the costume, what he looks like. Yeah, that's a great page. Yep. And it's a full page splash page too. So really cool.
Yeah, I think me and you discussed maybe the one in issue 2 that I kind of liked. Let's see if it's in here. Obviously, you got the full page Violator reveal, which is gnarly. Says "Night Night, boys," and he just got finished wrecking a bunch of the mob bosses, and he's holding his top horn, and it's full page, heart on the ground, blood everywhere, bit teeth, and that one stands out fairly well. And that's your first full body reveal of Violator. Yeah, not in clown form. And there's another cool little page in this one, where he has his flashback about Jason Wynn. And I kind of like what they did with his face. They kind of corpsed it up a little more than you don't really see a lot of facial features. You see a lot of teeth drawn back as he's thinking about Jason Wynn. There's the bubbles of flashback in with it, and I kind of like that one. But the Violator scene definitely stands out with the theme of these comics as where they were going to push the edge.
Yeah, you really start to see that in issue 2 for sure, with the hearts being ripped out and blood, and for sure. I really liked in issue 2, there were the very first picture of Spawn in issue 2 is him standing by a cross on the roof of a church. It shows his full appearance with the cape going everywhere. That one's really cool. Then a couple pages later, he's crouched down on the cross, and I just love that pose, which I've always been a fan of. That Daredevil does that a lot, and Daredevil comic by the cross.
Yeah, the crouching.
I'm a sucker for that look. Yeah. It just looks really cool, especially when drawn well by someone like Todd McFarlane. And then I thought, let's see, where was it? There was another one. Oh, just issue 4, the whole fight scene I thought was awesome as far as the art goes. I love that fight, the whole fight scene.
Yeah, there's can't skip over 3 because I got a page fold up where it's the main one in 3 that I like is it's a three panel, looks like 3 long panels on the page, and it's the transformation from the clown to the Violator. It's just a close up of his face where he starts laughing, and all of a sudden he slowly starts morphing into the actual demon. Yeah, it starts opening slowly up, and you see his teeth start coming out. So that's a good one in 3.
So the cape, we're going to keep an eye on the cape as the series goes, because it's going to become more and more dramatic. That's one of the things with Spawn, and it wasn't too crazy a lot of times in the first 4 issues. So we'll keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the cape. So
his cape and his chains, I think, even in this few issues we see, you get a little more chain, a little more reveal of his uniform. So you start kind of seeing some things stand out. I'm sure as we go, we'll discover more.
So one thing we're going to look at, since the 90s, and Image especially, we're known for being extreme, is the extreme meter. How extreme were these issues in your opinion?
Now, I'm putting myself back into the 90s when we were reviewing this, and as it went, I would, and I'm not trying to fast forward in my head, because I know kind of where these comics go somewhat, just from some other battle scenes and stuff that they have in them, but just sticking with these 4, it starts off as probably a good 6 or 7.
Yeah, comparatively in the 90s, it's pretty. But looking back, I thought it was kind of slow. It wasn't that extreme. I mean, we had hearts being ripped out and holes being blocked, chests and limbs ripped off and bitten off. But I don't know. It wasn't. I guess I was expecting more. Maybe I could just because we have the benefit of hindsight, being 2020, and knowing that the 90s were extreme, and Image was this whole different thing where artists had creative freedom to do whatever they want, and it just wasn't. I don't know if they just wanted to ease us into it, maybe, and instead of just shooting blood right in the face,
I guess
right out the gate.
I guess if you're looking at it over the 4, not just the violence that happens when the Violators revealed with ripping out the hearts in that one scene. I guess if you do divide it over your 4 issues, it does take a while to actually build up and the first, two of them aren't very much at all. I think most of it happens in 3 and 4. So I guess if you do look at it, that aspect, it would probably not as extreme as one would think.
So, yeah.
But when it does happen, it's out there.
So the next section that I've got, which we've already talked about, so we can skip over this. It was just looking at the villains, which we've already discussed, Violator, Malbolgia, and Jason Wynn. We've already touched on that. So I think we can pretty much skip, going into detail about who they are. But what did you think about like the character designs for the villains? I mean, Jason Wynn, all we've got so far is just his face. And he's a dude with a beard, which he does have that evil look about him, though.
Yeah, I think it's his hair, the way his hair is shaped, and his eyes. You can tell he's got that bad guy, like
I got that booming aura,
kind of aura to him. A suit, dark
shadows.
Suit. Yeah.
Can villains just not afford
they kind
good
of set it
lighting?
up?
I don't know.
Or do they position themselves like that to keep their aura about them? They always just position themselves where it's not good lighting.
No, okay, we got to turn that one off. Move a little bit to the left. Point your head down. There you go. That right there is evil. Hold that pose.
Perfect. Sit. This is sit behind their desk.
I need one.
Shadow their face real good.
What about? Well, we already talked about the way the clown Violator looks. We pretty much talked about all of them. I think they're pretty good character designs for these demons that are supposed to be gross and distorted looking. I think Todd did a fantastic job designing them.
Yeah. I like the difference between your two versions of the Violator. You've got this little muscular and fat at the same time, grotesque clown. Because I mean, why wouldn't it be a clown in his human form? And then as he pops up and transforms, it's this super lean, stretched out, all demon. So it's the exact, visually they transform that exact opposite. You can see him, it kind of represents his lowly form in the demon world, being this little short, squat clown, to his higher form as the Violator itself. I mean, it's kind of, I guess, represents the power art.
And
maybe.
I think that whenever he goes into his true demon Violator form, it kind of backs up the smack that he was talking as the clown.
Yeah, and maybe that's why a little clown can talk so much smack, because he knows. And
then Malbolgia is just, demon looking dude, ugly, kind of fat. Got long hair, big long hair, not just the way Todd drew the hair. I mean, it wasn't very detailed. It was more of like an outline most of the time, but it just looked gross. Like I could picture it being all matted and nasty.
Yeah.
I think
did they show wings?
I honestly don't remember. If they did, they were maybe smaller wings. I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, I think he's got some. They're not proportionate to his body if they are.
Let's see here.
And he's kind of got the same jutting, oversized jaw as the Violator, just not as extreme. So I guess that's going to be an ongoing theme with some of the demons.
He does kind of have wings, but they're all tattered and torn. They're connected to his arms. Yeah.
Like I say, his underbite and his jaw is not as accentuated as, or not as long as the Violators, but it's still there, I think. I'm curious. I wonder where the inspiration for his Violator came from and his Malbolgia, as far as demons and the evil. You got the cast from hell. Everybody thinks they look a certain way, and then you got your good guys.
We'll have to look into that. Maybe one of our viewers or listeners will have the answer and comment. So if you do, get down there and type a little comment. Let us know where Todd got his inspiration from. If not, we'll try to touch on it next time. We'll look it up. Oh,
yeah, just a little side note.
So speaking of the characters and their character designs, one thing I wanted to talk about is for each arc, an action figure test, like which characters would make good action figures. If there's new characters, introduced, would they look good in action figure form? And the answer to this first arc is obviously yes, they would all make awesome action figures because they are. And we know now that, Todd is a giant in the action figure industry. He started Todd back in the day to make his Spawn figures. And now he's at McFarlane Toys. He's got the rights to DC. He's about to lose them at the end of this year. It's going back to Mattel. But Todd is a giant in the action figure industry. So he knows design. He knows what looks good. So I feel like, I don't know if he designs his characters thinking of an action figure, but it seems like he does,
Yeah. He is, probably the guy in action figure design. It started off with just his Spawn, and it kind of just exploded, and it hasn't stopped since. I mean, he's done everything. There's not a and having seen some of the seeing some of the first action figures from this series and getting them whenever I was actually collecting when I was younger, they made some pretty good action figures. I don't know what happened with. You'll have to look into it as well. I wasn't too pleased with the Violator, the first Violator action figure that came out. It was, it was all bendy, and it was you couldn't pose it. It was just you just kind of had it, but I don't know if a super articulation, super jointed Violator toy with a hinged jaw and everything nowadays would make a superb action figure as compared to the old one. It was just a bendy.
I feel like that with the bendy figure, he was trying to be innovative, and I get it. I mean, what he was doing at Todd's Toys were completely different than what everybody else was doing at the time in the industry. And it's, taking chances like that on the Violator that I think's gotten him to where he is today, which he did release a Violator figure a couple of years ago. And I don't know if it reflects how he looks in the comics now, but he was like buff and muscular instead of skinny, which is why I didn't get it, because I wanted the old look. Did you ever see that one recently?
Yeah.
You got to look it up.
No,
I mean,
I'll look into it later.
It just wasn't my Violator, I guess.
Yeah. And maybe that's why he couldn't come up with the hinge technology to make it a hard plastic posable toy, because he kept it skinny and long, and maybe the plastic would have been too fragile.
Action figure technology has changed a lot since the 90s, though, so it can be done now for sure.
Yes.
Maybe he'll release. He is doing these figures now of the old Image characters. That Elite Spawn figure that we never found in the store that we looked for, that we found at the toy show for $70.
Yeah, I think I've seen them anywhere between $70 and $100 at toy shows. It's ridiculous. Everybody just bought them off Amazon as fast as possible
at that toy show. They're only going to get more expensive. But he's releasing a whole line of the old Image characters, Savage Dragon, and there's one other one. Oh, Hellboy. Although Hellboy's not Image, though.
Oh,
that's
nice.
Hellboy's Dark Horse. Maybe it's just comic legends, like, just general comic characters. But I want that Savage Dragon figure. It looks awesome. Anything else to say about action figures?
No. Like you say, the Spawn one was fine. He's got plenty going on. Capes, chains, the color scheme of Spawn's uniform stands out really well with an action figure. Yeah. And he has made plenty of great Spawn action figures. I haven't seen too many of the clown form. The one they came out with originally was pretty good. It was detailed. The head swapped from the clown face to a mid morphing Violator face.
That's cool.
If I remember correctly, it kind of just flips up and it's and his midsection flips. So it's a clown and then it flips up and it's like kind of a morphed Violator figure. So you got the clown, you can turn it to like the mid Violator, and then you got the bendy Violator. Kind of touch base with that, which was pretty cool. I've
got one Spawn figure from back in the day, but of the new ones, Todd's got the rights to the Mortal Kombat figures, and Spawn was in one of the Mortal Kombat games, and I've got that Spawn from that line. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. The cape isn't as big. It looks like the character design in the game, so it's a little tone, but it's still good.
Yeah.
Two more things, and we will be done, because I feel like this might be running a little long. We're still trying to figure out how to do this. Neither one of us has really reviewed comics like this before, especially more than one issue at a time. So if you're still here, we appreciate you sticking around while we're trying to figure out what we're doing. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, because we're going through a whole story arc. You got a lot to touch on. It's three whole issues. It's not very long issue, but there's a lot going on in the story. So, and in the future, they probably will.
In the future, we might do one issue at a time. Longer. Who knows? Like I said, we're figuring this out. This is new. This is new to us, and we're just doing it to have fun and to hang out together and talk about comics and action figures. But in your opinion, what or who was the MVP of these first 4 issues? In your opinion, who takes on the crown for most valuable player?
I like honestly, the I think the Violator, because it's hard to say Spawn. I mean, obviously he's a front runner. He's the main character. But as he's trying to figure things out, the Violator is already in action, setting things up, trying to set Spawn up with these killings of all these mobsters, already plotting against Spawn. And I just like his quick little character development is pretty quick.
Yep.
It gets right to the point.
I also believe it's the Violator. He is over the top, disgusting. And I mentioned earlier, that he was wearing the Image shirt and that, breaking the fourth wall. Well, I mean, you brought up the Image shirt. Mm-hmm. I said, little fourth wall break there. I almost feel like, and I don't think it goes this deep, but just looking at it, it seems like he knows that he's in a comic book and he's trying to steal every scene that he's in. That's what it feels. That he's like, what can I say to be the most interesting thing on this page or the most disgusting thing on this page? And he does that, and I love it, and it's gross and it's awesome. So
with the little zipper scene, just that little quick scene, just takes away from the whole thing that you were just reading, and he turns around and
Violator definitely stole the show for me in these first 4 issues, and also Todd's art and the colors. I don't know if that counts as the MVP, but I definitely think Todd's art was fresh and the colors were bright and dark all at the same time. Man, it was just great. Mm-hmm. So the opposite end, what, in your opinion, is the weakest link in the story? And I will give mine if you want me to while you're thinking. It's probably going to be the same thing. I feel like Sam and Twitch are by far the weakest link. I feel like they didn't do anything. That's kind
of, I can agree with that. They were just, I think they just set them in just to, I mean, obviously you knew they were a character.
But over 4 issues, they made no headway on the case. Basically it's Sam insulting Twitch and Twitch saying, "Yes, sir." That's their
ensuring him that he's still doing a good job. It seems like Twitch is there as a puffer man just to keep him.
But again, I mean, it is early on, and this is probably just being, because they're not in the issues a lot. Maybe 1 page, 2 pages tops in each issue. So this is probably still just an introduction, but so far they seem like they're unnecessary. But maybe maybe by issue 20 we'll be like, man, Sam and Twitch are the best things in this comic. So I guess we'll see. So final verdict, the first 4 issues of Spawn. So I'm really not good at ranking things like, out of 10. I don't like to commit, I guess, enough to give it a rating, but I'm going to try to for y'all in this series. I'm going to try to. So the scale that I've decided to use for these first 4 issues, because of the Violator, I'm giving, on a scale from 1 to 10 ripped out hearts. This gets 7 ripped out hearts for me. It was a good introduction to the characters, decent opening arc, I feel like. There was a lot of mystery that was introduced, and some of the mystery was peeled back for us, just enough to reveal a little, but still keep us guessing. It really does make me want to see what Sam and Twitch are going to do in the future, because right now they're just there talking to each other, not really doing anything. So I've 7 out of 10 is what I give it. I think it's good. It's good. I want to read issue 5 now and see what happens. I'm invested. What about you?
Yeah, I could agree. I can second that one. I think it deserves that. I like the mystery and story development of Spawn that keeps you in the dark with him. So you it kind of draws you in with this character because you're discovering things as he discovers them. It gives you enough background of what happened to him to, by the end of the story arc, you're like, okay, I kind of know what happened to Al Simmons. I know who he is now. It sets it up through the whole echelon of the story as the deal he made. Nothing. It's just this guy in this suit now that obviously he messed up, came back from the dead now to see his wife. And then all of a sudden it's all the way over here to he is supposed to be used as a general in the devil's army to overthrow God or destroy God by the end of your 4 episodes. So I would agree with that. Obviously the art super easy on the eyes. There's not a frame that's lazy.
Yeah.
Sometimes in comics you'll see a lazy frame, like a little outline, a smudge of color for a character in the background or something. I don't think there's too much of that going on in these.
And if there is something
real
simple like that, it serves a purpose. Like, I feel like Todd did a great job of, I don't know, maybe using a lazy panel in a way to make it not seem lazy, which is a in itself, and in fact is not lazy. So yeah. I agree.
There is one little when you see the Violator on the top of the building, it's kind of an outline and colored, but it still looks good and it serves its point, and it's silly because it's this little clown on top of the building and Spawn's way up on the building, and and you see this weird little clown over here for no reason at all other than to bother Spawn. So I guess that would be probably the closest one that kind of stands out to me as a not technical, not as technical as
even
the rest
in that
of
though. It's supposed to be kind of in passing, like it's not supposed to have all those details. Spawn didn't see all those details, So again, Todd's doing a great job making something simple serve a purpose. I don't know. It's good. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like this is probably going to make me appreciate Todd McFarlane's art way more than I do, which not that I don't appreciate it, but at this point, I don't think he would make my top 10 list favorite artist of all time, but I don't know. Maybe so by the end of this, he might move up in the ranks for me. I can really see that happening. So, well, anything else to add before we?
No, I think we pretty much touched base on everything we wanted to, and I think covered the story arc. So it's going to be on to the next one, and we'll discover Spawn as it was meant to be. At least we don't have to wait for all the episodes to come out now, or issues, I should say, and miss one and then have to go find a back issue you didn't get to the newsstand to get, or the comic shop. And you've got 3 missing
we couldn't even
issues to a story arc
to see what we missed.
It was a struggle,
but now they're all here.
I think this will make our quest a little easier.
Well, thank y'all for joining us, and if you've stuck around this long, kudos. We greatly appreciate it. And next time we will dig into maybe the next 4 issues, the next 2 story arcs. There are 4 issues and 2 arcs, but they're split. It's part 1, then 2 issues of a story arc, then part 2 of the other one is in the 4th issue. So we might just go through them all. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how much time we've got. Because again, being adults and all of that is hard to, make this time. But yeah, this is awesome. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying just talking to you about it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. This is one of my favorite parts about it. Like I say, just hanging out, a good conversation about a topic we both love.
If somebody joins us, that's awesome. If not, then 10 years from now, if YouTube is still a thing, we can pull it up and say, look what we did 10 years ago. This was awesome.
Yep, just like kind of like finding an old sketchbook or something, except it's a video format now.
So anyway, well, thank y'all for joining us. And again, check us out. We're YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, Facebook. We're everywhere. We're nationwide on the internets. So check us out. Leave a like, leave a comment. Tell us what we're doing bad. Tell us how to fix it, and we'll try to fix it. But otherwise, y'all have a great one. Casey, see you next time. And
yes, sir.
On to the next.
On to the next one.